All right, welcome everyone. If I can get your attention, we have a lot of people here today. That's super exciting. Hope you guys are enjoying your lunch. So for those of you that I've not had a chance to meet, either today or prior to today, my name is Jonetta Dyson. I'm a National Marketing Director with the Juice Plus Company, and I'm also the chair of our Health and Wellness Committee, which is the organization, the group in the chamber that put this luncheon on today. And we've been doing this since 2015. And it's been exciting to understand the topics that we've covered and how they've impacted our community and to watch this luncheon grow. And so we're going to kick off today just by letting you know a little bit more about what we do and who we are and the people that make this possible. And then very shortly after that, I'll bring up the speakers, our panelists, and we'll get started. It's pretty relaxed, so if you need to get up, please feel free to get up. You've had a chance to visit with the vendors. We try to leave a little bit of time after the program is over so that you can go back and finish those conversations. But today we're going to start with, we live in a beautiful community of Tomball, and we love to start off our meetings with prayer and pledges. So if you guys would stand, Michael Truitt is going to lead us in our prayer and pledge this morning.
How about a big thanks to Miss Donna, too? Absolutely.
All right. So our committee, the Health and Wellness Committee, our purpose, the Greater Tomball Area Health and Wellness Alliance, is a collaborative effort among healthcare entities, providers, and businesses in the Greater Northwest Houston region, providing health and wellness-related platforms to support economic development. The Alliance will focus on providing opportunities which support healthcare professionals and wellness initiatives for a healthy and vibrant community. So our committee consists of chamber members, and if you are a member of our committee, would you please stand and be recognized? There are several here today. Stand up, Janelle. I don't think any of them stood up. Not one. Not one. Scott did. All right. We work on these lunches that we do periodically throughout the year. We also do the Tomball Night Health Expo. We do the Chamber Cup Challenge. If you guys did not participate in our first annual, you can participate in the second annual. So stay tuned for that. And at this time, I want to let you know who our lunch sponsors are and how much we appreciate them. We've got Jeffrey Klein here with Tomball Regional Health Foundation. Come on up.
And it is our great pleasure at the Tomball Regional Health Foundation to sponsor these luncheons every quarter, and we just think it's fabulous to have such a great crowd today to talk about the subject at hand. One thing I want to remind you of, and they're gonna give you all the statistics, but I want you to remind everyone here, every one of you is a mental health professional. We have so many people in our community, especially our seniors, that are feeling lonely and isolated. Are you taking people to lunch? Are you having people over to your house? Are you playing cards with friends? Are you taking people to the doctor? If you are not doing those things, look around your neighborhood, look at your friends, look at your relatives, and see how can I be that mental health professional that brings a little love, a little attention, a little time to them, and I think we would all be better off. So thank you for all coming today.
Thank you. And Teresa De La Rosa with MD Anderson is another one of our sponsors, so thank you, Teresa.
You're welcome. Actually, it's Laura De La Rosa with MD Anderson, but that's perfectly fine. I go by Teresa, too. So, yes. Anyways, MD Anderson is so proud to sponsor this event. Thank you to the Tomball Chamber and for the Health and Wellness Alliance for giving us the opportunity to support all of their efforts and educating the community about the importance of health initiatives. MD Anderson Cancer Center, as most of you know, is in the Texas Medical Center. We are the #1 cancer hospital in the nation, but we also have facilities closer to where you work and live. We have our facility in the Woodlands, and we have our facility in West Houston. And we just recently opened our MD Anderson Northwest Surgical and Specialty Care. It's our first surgery center outside the Texas Medical Center. It's in Vintage Park, and we do surgeries that require less than a 48-hour stay. So if you have any cancer care, cancer prevention needs, please come visit me at the table. And a special thank you to Donna for all of her hard work. She's an amazing leader, and love being a part of the group. Thanks so much.
And she said that even though I called her Teresa and it's Laura. So thank you, Laura. All right. We have special gratitude for Lone Star College because if you guys have ever worked on events, you know how difficult it is these days to find a place to have an event, especially this size. And so we're super appreciative to Lone Star College for allowing us to use the Beckendorf Conference Center. Original Rib Tickler, it looks like you guys have enjoyed your lunch. I don't know. Like, they do a fantastic job. Let's give them a round of applause. And really, it's the funding from Tomball Regional Health Foundation, MD Anderson, and then the booths. I'm about to introduce the tables that are in the back. But because of that, this lunch is a free lunch. And we just love that we're able to provide that for this particular event. And Miss Jonetta, Barnett, where's Jonetta? She's up there on the ladder. She is kind enough to video this. So at the end of these programs, Jonetta, good. If you have someone that you wish could have been here that you wanted to share this information with, Jonetta is capturing this on video so that you can then turn around and share that with them. So we will make sure that you understand how to get a hold of that if that's what you wanted to do. And I want to very quickly just let you know who our featured businesses are. And we have Clarity Hearing, HCA Houston, Juice Plus is here, Lone Star College, Tomball, MD Anderson Cancer Center, Mosaics of Mercy, New Health, MD Tomball, North Houston Hearing Solutions, Philam Insurance, Sam's Club is here, Shield Bear is here, Solana Vintage Park, they and their residents are the ones that provide the centerpieces for our tables. And then I have two here. Tell me your name. Yes. University of St. Thomas is here and in the back. Awesome. Thank you guys so much, everyone, for being here. Like I said, we'll have plenty of time at the end to also give you guys some more information. And so thank you for being here today. At this time, I'd like to ask our panelists to go ahead and come on up and take your seats. And Miss Christina Perez. So there she is. Christina has agreed to give a brief account of her experience working with her daughter in counseling and really just how much it's impacted her family and relationships. And she's not only a very active member of our community, she also holds a master's in psychology. And I share that with you because regardless of our backgrounds, right, sometimes those closest to us need help. Right, and so I just asked Christina if she wouldn't mind sharing a little bit with us to kick it off this morning.
Thanks, Donna. Thank you for having me here. I do not mind sharing. I'm an open book. So, but yes, I have a master's in educational psychology. I taught kids with severe special needs before my current positions and my, tenure in different paths. But I'm also getting a PhD in industrial organizational psychology. So why did I choose therapy for my family? I have 4 kids. Boy, girl, they're all older, 25, 22, 20, and 14. And when they were younger, my second child, our daughter, basically had, you could tell she had anxiety as an infant. I don't know how else to say it. It was like genetic. Depression does run in the family through the grandmothers on both sides. And so, I obviously taught students with special needs who had emotional disorders, emotional disabilities. And so I'm like, okay, I got this, but at some point I don't got this. And so she hit from the, day one all the way through when she hit grade school and kindergarten, she's brilliant and walks in and starts correcting her teacher, taking over the classroom, organizing the children, putting them in groups. And so her teacher's like, she wants my job. And so it was like, what do I do? How do I help my daughter? So together we're like, we're going to teach her how to be coachable to her friends, not taking over her friends. And so friendships, I never worried about academics for my kids, but I worried about friendships for them because they do tend to stand out. They are very intelligent and they tend to just, be older, even when they're little. And so, again, my daughter came home and said, you put me in a classroom full of babies. They can't have a conversation at lunch. And I said, they're kindergartners. What do you want them to do? And so it just got worse progressively where she didn't feel like she fit in. So comes middle school, she's still sticking out. She wants to be in band. She wants to do all of these things, start her own business. And she's like, I can't have conversations with people. And she started getting depressed. The depression kicked in. We got divorced, depression gets worse. So there came a point where it was like, I don't know, my daughter didn't want to live. She would just, and I was praying at night, hoping in the morning I wasn't going to be it was going to be a horrible situation for our family. So I reached out for help. I said, okay, this is the point where it's beyond my limits as a parent. It's beyond what our family can do to support her, what our friends and church can do to support her. We need more than what we can give her. So I reached out, and I reached actually out to Shield Bearer, who's here, and started taking her in for therapy. And they discovered, because she was having panic attacks like regularly on a regular basis, and I was having to pick her up from school. She was flipping out before she went to school, but it was a panic attack, not just I don't want to go. She wanted to go. She wanted to be successful, but she struggled with that. And so, and me, again, I'm turning into teacher mode. And so I started going into some of the sessions with her saying, I need help. I don't know how to be her mom. I can turn into teacher, but I need to be her mom. And so her therapist at the time really helped guided me for being the best mom I could be to her, and then for her, teaching her skills of how to manage her anxiety. I think that the best thing is to understand is, because it was, again, something more biological, or, maybe it's just in all of our family, I don't know, she was not going to ever be able to just get over it. And so she was going to have to learn to compensate for it. And so that way she could, have with a normal limit life. And she's very successful. My daughter graduated early from high school, went to cosmetology school. She just recently moved to Florida. She's engaged. She has a job. All the things. And so, but I say Shield Bearer or counseling helped to raise her with me, because I couldn't do it by myself. And I had to be okay taking her, even though my parents, their generation is, well, they kept telling me as grandparents, well, she's not crazy. Don't make her think she's crazy. Don't take her to people because she's fine. And I'm like, you don't understand. I want my daughter to live. I want her to have a great life. I want her to learn how to manage the situation. And actually, over therapy, it was discovered from her therapist that she doesn't have an anxiety disorder. She actually has depression, which is managed through medication, but she also has OCD tendencies of the mind. Like, her thought will happen and then race really fast. Maybe like I might count things or flip light switches or something, because OCD is something that I struggle with as well. But so her thoughts race. So if she's able to stop her thoughts and learn those kinds of strategies, she doesn't get to the panic attack. But should she get to the panic attack, she has a wealth of strategies that her counselor taught her, her therapist taught her. And so she will always have to manage that throughout her life. And she will have maintenance therapy probably forever, because it's prevention. I think a lot of times people think, I don't need therapy, I don't need to see someone, but it's prevention. If you're going through any kind of major change, I saw a therapist before, during, and after the divorce, before, during, and after a major job change, because I knew it was going to be something I had to process. Can I process that with girlfriends over wine? Sure, but it's better to process it with somebody objective who doesn't know and is really just guiding me, not telling me what to do. So, a lot of times I think people think all kinds of things about why not to go to therapy, or why, who people are going to know. I don't know that I really care, because my point in life is that we're all successful together, and it's okay. If I break my arm, I'm going to go to a doctor. If I hurt my back, I'm going to see a chiropractor. If I know I'm going to have a major life change, I'm going to go see a therapist, because it's been the best for my family. It's helped, like I said, my daughter, and it's for her siblings as well, know how to interact with her. What are her triggers? What do we need to be careful? And mostly how we can support her. The best phrase they taught me is, what do you need from me right now? Man, I use that phrase with everyone, at work, at friends, girlfriend, but that was a perfect phrase for my daughter that her therapist said, is, what do you need from me right now? Because she can tell you, I need space, I need a hug, cry with me, take me shopping, I need chocolate, whatever. But as long as she's able to converse that, then we can help support her. So opening up for the panel, ask any questions of them, but it's important to know that if you are struggling or going to go through a trauma or have gone through a trauma, that it's okay to go. It's perfectly okay to go. It's how we stay successful and on the road for a healthy life, right? Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Christina. It's sometimes it's hard to be like super transparent, right? So we appreciate you coming up here, because what we've learned is that, you guys, we can talk about the information, which is what we're going to do, and sometimes we get bogged down in statistics and the laundry list of things that we need to think about, but we forget that there may be people in our lives, there may be people in this room that you're sitting next to that are struggling, right? And they need this information, but they also need to understand and be relatable, right? We have to understand that we make the information usable for everyone. So that's kind of why it becomes important. So we're going to have a chance to meet our panel now, and they will each have a chance to kind of give you some information. They all have an area of expertise that they want to share with you. And our first couple of speakers are from Shield Bearer Counseling, and I'm going to put my glasses on because otherwise I don't call people by their right name. Michelle Timofonte, how'd I do? She began her career as a volunteer at Shield Bearer. Before becoming a counselor, she received her master's from Sam Houston State University in 2013, and she's worked at Shield Bearer ever since. So as a clinical director, she assists counselors as they facilitate healing in their clients. She is also involved in community outreach by spreading the news about Shield Bearer and stepping in when crisis counseling is needed. In her spare time, she loves spending time with her husband of 30 years, their children, and grandchildren. I'm also going to go ahead and introduce Lindsay Poblete. How'd I do? Okay. She was born in Toronto, Canada, but has lived in Houston for 28 years, so we can claim you now. She graduated with her Bachelor of Science in Psychology and Criminal Justice in 2008 from Sam Houston State University. In 2012, she received a Master's of Arts in Forensic Psychology from the Chicago School, and in 2014, a Master's of Arts in Counseling from Sam Houston State University. She enjoys helping the community with improving self-care and working through new ways to handle life stress. She works with children, adolescents, adults of all ages, and couples. She's married with 5 children, 3 dogs, and that makes up her amazing home. She enjoys working with programs that teach others how to swim, going to school, and spending time with her family. So I'm going to ask these ladies, I think Michelle's going to start us this morning.
Hi. There we go. Well, thank you so much for allowing me to be up here, and we're going to go through some things related to the mental health continuum. We're going to start with healthy, going all the way down that line, and today the other end of it that we're going to discuss is anxiety. So anxiety are feelings of worry, nervousness, or unease. Worry, nervousness, or unease. They affect children of all ages. From as little, at Shield Bearer, we see clients as little as 3 years old. The anxiety is the body's response to high stressors, and anxiety can lead to feelings of hopelessness. 30% of the population will experience anxiety at some point in their lives. With anxiety, we want to catch it, check it, and change it. So we're going to go through some things that indicate that we're feeling high anxiety, something a little more than stressors. When you notice that, you want to check it. You want to find out what it is, where it's coming from, what you can do about it. And like Christina said, is this something we can work through, or is this something that is going to lead to something more severe in the future? When we determine that, then we're going to make the efforts and the behaviors that will change that for us. Now, on that continuum, stress versus anxiety. Stress is short-term. It is an actual recognized threat. A report due, right? We've procrastinated, and now it's due tomorrow. In moderation, stress can be good for us. Thinking of that report, if it's due tomorrow, we're going to be hyper-vigilant. We're going to work extra hard. We're going to do everything we can to get that done and get it done properly, so we can use the stress to work for us. Stress is part of our fight or flight system, and when we're experiencing stress, our brain will release a stress hormone, cortisol. Anxiety is long-term. It doesn't necessarily have to have a trigger. And it is a result of that long-term stress hormone cortisol in our bodies. Anxiety can result in physical symptoms. There is a very strong mind-body connection. When we're experiencing high anxiety, there are physical symptoms. And typically we see stress with other mental illnesses, mostly depression, but many others as well. Again, here's that continuum. On the end, we have the green area, mental wellness. We're on the good side of that continuum. We're physically and socially active. We use self-care to reduce cortisol. When that cortisol level goes up, the only thing that brings that back down is taking care of ourselves in that moment. Lisa's going to talk more later about what we can do to keep that cortisol down and take care of ourselves. On this end of the continuum, we have stable mood. We take things in stride. We're able to deal with difficulties that come to our lives. And we have the usual self-confidence levels. As we move down this continuum, that catch it, check it, and change it, this is where we're going to catch some of the differences from a normal stress that can be healthy for us and can help us get motivated and get things completed, to where we're headed down that continuum to anxiety and things that can begin to harm us. So we become more irritable, we have less energy, we might have trouble sleeping, we might have increased intrusive thoughts, or increased worry and nervousness. We go further down that line, and we can have very disturbed sleep patterns, staying up, not being able to sleep, or sleeping too much, avoiding social situations, and a lingering sadness that we cannot seem to get rid of. And then on that end, anxiety, we have difficulty with our emotions. We have lost that emotion regulation. We can experience panic attacks. We can experience anxiety with other mental illness symptoms. We are hypervigilant, and we have disturbances in thinking. The physical symptoms of a result of anxiety can be many. We can experience lightheaded, dizziness, or even headaches. We can have an increased heartbeat or a regular heartbeat, high blood pressure, tension, muscle aches and pains, stomach pains, and a lowered immune system that causes us to get ill a lot more often, or major illnesses. The issues and challenges we face as a result of anxiety, or that can contribute to our anxiety, is we can have concerns about normal development. Lately, we can have young people that are lacking social skills or lacking verbal skills. We've noticed this as a result of COVID. After COVID, there was an increased anxiety, and now these children don't have the verbal and social skills necessary, which increases the anxiety further. The influences that can lead to anxiety are alcohol and drugs, eating habits, cultural normalization, family dysfunction, sexual relationships, finances, and any adverse experiences going on in our lives. Social media is currently a huge contributor to anxiety. The amount of time young people spend online increases the amount of anxiety they experience. So the more they're online, the more they have anxiety. Gaming, bullying, these impossible comparisons, that facade. We look online and everyone else seems to be doing everything great and their lives are perfect. It's not real, but when those that are looking on social media cannot compare to that, they find it very difficult to compare. The poor sleeping habits caused by social media, they're up late at night on their phones, and that negative social influence. With all these symptoms, with all these experiences, we want to catch it, check it, and change it. Catch it, first being aware what is going on. Check it. Is this something I can handle, or is this something that I need to seek further help for? And what behaviors do I need to do to change it? Lindsay, you ready?
So the causes of anxiety is a complex interaction of biological as well as environmental stressors. Anxiety can be based on genetics, health. It can be something that's passed down from generation to generation. Some of the major things is anxiety and hormones, like she talked about. The high cortisol levels can cause a really high amount of stress that leads to long-term care, which ends up causing problems in mental health, physical health, as well as your well-being in general for long-term care. So somatic development, the size and structure of the brain can be affected, prefrontal cortexes, the limbic system, as well as your human stress response. So your normal response to stress, when you have a normal stressor like she was talking about, having a paper due the next day. Oh, can everybody hear me? Okay. Thank you. Okay, I have to be closer. So causes of stress. The human stress response is also something that can be a major cause. Childhood experiences, brain chemistry, environmental factors, stressors. High levels of anxieties can lead to neurotransmitter depletion and long-term mental and physical health conditions. The somatic development, size, structure, and function of the brain, prefrontal cortex, and the limbic system. Human stress response, physical changes in the amygdala. How anxiety affects the brains. Some of the statistics for children, is keeping me on my toes. So only 20% normally seek help for anxiety. 1 in 5 people are normally seen for mental health disorders, but out of that total, about 20% maybe seek assistance or guidance for anxiety because they normally see it as something that's a normal day-to-day thing, or like we talked about earlier about the cultural response to not wanting to come to therapy. The age of onset is usually between 14 and 24. We have 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys who experience sexual abuse. Adolescents in chronic state of anxiety, i.e. social media, prior to 2008 and social media's obvious existence. Our age for suicidal ideation was a lot higher in numbers. We're talking about 14, normally about teenage years. Since then, we have seen a decrease in age. So we're talking about 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds seeking suicidal ideation at a younger age, just from that change of social media. Us at Shield Bearer, we do see a lot of teenagers who have hit younger ages that have gone into elementary school, which has been a high concern just because of that constant anxiety of social media being something that they compare themselves to a little bit more. Anxiety has increased substantially since 1950s. Our now connection with social media has increased the ability for everybody to kind of see more and give everybody the access to everybody's lives. Also, false images of what life is actually like versus what everybody is actually going through. Anything over 2 hours for social media a day is normally related to mental health. A lot of people in a day can spend eons on there looking at cat videos, TikToks, trying to alleviate themselves of just going, but the algorithms just keep them on there and keep you tied. So children and adolescents are growing up, as well as adults are also having a harder time getting off social media from there. So that has kind of set a precedent since COVID. Adolescents are one of the higher populations. So some of the childhood effects on anxiety, some of the major things that we work with, at least at Shield Bearer, for some of our teenagers as well as kids, is just trying to make sure that we have a secure attachment versus an insecure attachment. So a lot of people have daily lives that we go through. Secure attachment is looking at their safety, their trust in self and others, the stress and emotional regulation that parents provide at home, as well as extended family or even the community that they're around. The children's adaptability, resilience. These are things that we all kind of had growing up, as well as things that people strive for, at least in secure attachment for children, as well as anybody in growing up, as well as through their childhood, adulthood, everywhere. An insecure attachment looks like lack of confidence, a difficulty with interaction with peers, the inability to regulate their emotions, codependency, and lack of boundaries, and then rigid boundaries. So a lot of teenagers nowadays, there is more sense of being on social media, being on phones. Everybody has more availability for being on anything electronic, which has caused a depletion in their ability to adapt, at least with knowing those secure attachment skills that really anybody kind of grew up with, at least a few people in their lives that had strong connection to giving them a protective factor against anxiety. So these are the things, some of the things we try to force. So a home should be filled with affection, protection, imitation, security, and safety. This is just going well beyond that. It starts at home with making sure that our children, as well as anybody, has protective factors. And sometimes in life, you may need a check to see, do I still have these protective factors with that security? Do I have people around me who are supportive? Do I have the right resources for myself? Am I checking with my self-care? So these are very important things, at least for any individual, even children, as well as us now, to make sure that we do a self-check for ourselves. Just to make sure that that anxiety doesn't get beyond where we can actually kind of bring it back and kind of focus on ourselves at this time. Thank you.
Shield Bearer obviously is a nonprofit, and so if you would like information on that, you might want to go ahead and check that QR code. And let's take a break, guys. Give them a hand. They gave us a lot of information. It's super important, I think, that distinction between just stress and anxiety, right? I don't know if you guys have ever walked that line before. I crossed it one time, and it's kind of a scary place to be, right? And I think that they've brought great awareness. So thank you guys so much for kind of making that distinction for us. And I know that we also talked a lot about children and adolescents and going through COVID and, really the impact that those 3 years had on our population. But just remember, it's not just children and adolescents, right? I mean, I had my father was, in assisted living during that time, and there was just so much that was happening and the relationships that changed as a result of that. So I think that we still have some of the repercussions of that at all generations, right? All different age levels. So just being aware of that. So I'm super excited to introduce to you our next speaker, Miss Lisa Davis. She was born in New Orleans, Louisiana. She graduated with her undergraduate degree from Southern University at New Orleans. She also has a master's from Texas Southern University. She's a PhD from West Virginia University, and she's also completed an APA accredited doctoral internship at the University of Akron. She's a licensed professional counselor supervisor. She's been on faculty here at Lone Star College Tomball for 16 years. During her tenure, she's developed and managed various programs to support the academic, personal, and career goals of her students. She's experienced working with children, teens, and adults. She has clinical experience in various areas, including private practice, college counseling centers, children in foster care, and telemental health. She's experienced teaching various psychology courses at the undergraduate and graduate level. She enjoys spending time with her family, her friends, her sorority, and she has a dog named Buddy, so she likes Buddy too. We didn't want to forget that. So please give her a warm welcome.
Okay. Well, now we're going to get to when do you seek help? And a lot of times when we may not even be sure when it's time for us to seek help. Maybe our family and friends around us may tell us that, hey, what's going on? What's going on with you? How are you doing? You seem a little bit irritable today. So some of these could be signs that it may be time for us to seek help. So if you are experiencing difficulty functioning at home, work, school, and in relationships, that might be time to seek help. Emotions and behaviors are not manageable. There's a concern for safety and or overall well-being. That might be a concern to now it's time to seek help. engaging in non-suicidal self-injury or addictive behaviors. A lot of times people may think of addictive behaviors as just alcohol and drugs, but if you're spending too much, maybe shopping too much, shopping too much, even gambling too much, those could be addictive behaviors. Engaging in suicidal ideation and suicidal behaviors. So if you are reporting or feeling that you want to kill yourself or someone else, that is time to seek help. And I'll give you a resource as we move on through the presentation in terms of how to get help if you are having suicidal thoughts. But who can help? A lot of people can help. Depending on the situation, there's so many people that can help. We could talk to a trusted family member or even a friend. We could even talk to a teacher, a colleague, a church member. All these people are available to help. Sometimes what we need may be greater than what they're able to support, and that's when we know it's time for us to maybe move on to checking in with our primary caregiver or even meeting with a licensed mental health professional. If you find that you may, after this session today, and you find, I do think I need to talk to someone, we do have representatives here. If you're a Lone Star student, of course, Lone Star Counseling is available. But if you are a community member and you don't know where to start, Psychology Today is a great resource for you to start. So this is a resource that you can go online and you can identify a therapist, a licensed therapist, based upon the zip code that you live in, based upon the insurance that you have, and the issue that you want to seek help for. So, and a lot of other variables as well. But Psychology Today is a great resource for you to pursue. Therapy can be in person as well as virtual. So that is the one benefit of telemental health today, is that we have a lot of individuals, their lives are completely full. So they don't know where to fit in counseling or therapy. So if you want to meet with someone virtually, I have colleagues that may meet with individuals before they go to work, 5 a.m., 6 a.m., and even after you get home, you've worked, you spent time with your family, cooked, and you settled in, maybe at 10 p.m., you have the ability to meet with a counselor at that time. So counseling can be either virtual or in person. At Lone Star, we have employee assistance program, and this is also a great resource because you can get connected to your employer if they have this resource available, and you can get connected to EAP, and you can get 5 sessions for free. So that would be another opportunity for you. So I would check with your employer if you are working at this time. And then sometimes, when we engage in addictive behaviors, resources might be available. We may not want to talk to anyone about these resources, but LSC Drug and Alcohol Assistance Program is another resource for individuals who are working at LSC Lone Star College. Treatment options. The one thing we want to leave you with is anxiety is treatable. So anxiety is probably the number one mental health diagnosed in the world. So there are so many individuals who may be suffering from anxiety. These are the treatment options. Psychotherapy is one treatment option. In addition to that, medication, psychotherapy and medication may work for individuals who have a little bit more moderate to severe anxiety. So anxiety is treatable. And one of the most common treatments that are used in psychotherapy is cognitive behavioral therapy. So that is a great resource. Let's talk about barriers to mental health. There's so many different barriers when I work with individuals and clients. They tell me so many different stigmas that may have prevented them from seeking mental health support in the past. Stigmas associated with mental health might include, if I go and speak with a counselor, everyone is going to think I'm crazy. That's not the case. Actually, seeking help is a sign of strength and a sign that you care about yourself and your mental health. Sometimes there may be cultural factors that may prevent individuals from seeking help. Financial costs for mental health care is another barrier that a lot of individuals might experience when they are thinking about considering mental health care. And so at the end of the session, I'm going to give you a list of resources that if you don't have finances available to actually pay for someone, there may be some community resources that you can take advantage of. You have some in Harris County and Montgomery County, so you can take a look at those to see if that is something for you to consider. Apprehensive about taking medication. Just because you meet with a therapist doesn't mean you're going to have to take medication. So that's a myth that may not be applicable. Concerns with sharing personal information with a stranger. that could be a concern. But when you do meet with a mental health professional, remember, everything that you share with that mental health professional will be confidential. So the goal is to help you on your journey, and sharing information is a part of helping you on your mental health journey. Access to quality mental health providers. Again, I'll speak to the virtual therapy, because now you're able to get quality mental health care in the privacy of your own home. That might help individuals who may not have the means to travel distances to get mental health care. So virtual care may be an option for you. Here's some coping strategies for you to consider if you're not sure if you need to get connected right now. Here's some ways for you to help manage stress. Finding ways to manage stress, and that may be very different for each person here. But if you can find out what are your stressors and find out ways to help you manage them before they get to a level where it is, overwhelming and very difficult for you to function, might be really helpful. One of the things I like to encourage my clients to do is keep a journal. Sometimes when individuals who may have anxiety, when they go to lay down to sleep, they have all these thoughts just rambling in their head. So keeping a journal next to their bed may help them write down those thoughts so they can actually address them the next day when they're up and ready and moving about. But also sometimes getting thoughts out of your brain onto paper, that might be helpful. Engaging in healthy eating and sleeping habits are so important. A lot of people don't realize if you are struggling with your sleep, it impacts you the next day. If it's not the next day and you continuously have that issue, it takes a toll on you, not just mentally, but physical health as well. Avoid drinking excessive caffeine, such as soft drinks and coffee, and identify, challenge your negative and unhelpful thoughts might be another good way. Deep breathing, grounding techniques, and self-care activities are also really helpful in managing stress. So tomorrow we're moving into Mental Health Month. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So I want you to think about what is something, or maybe one thing that you're going to do to take care of yourself to support a positive mental health. And this is focused on self-care activities, but you can also include the family. What will you and your family do together to take care and support a positive mental health moving forward? So try to identify one thing that you're going to engage in for the month of May, and then hopefully you can continue that in the future months, but also what your family can do as well. So combating mental health information. So it's so important. There's so many myths out there about mental health. So if you want to go to resources that will give you accurate information, these are some great resources that you can utilize. So the one, Mental Health America, if you're unsure that after the session you're thinking, maybe I do have anxiety, I'm not sure, this is a great resource for you to go to, and you can take a quick quiz online, and it will give you results in terms of, yes, maybe you do have anxiety, or maybe you do not, but it also gives you resources to get connected. And so that's one great resource. If you're struggling with alcohol or substance use, substance abuse and mental health services and administration, it's another great website. So if you wanted to, instead of meeting with someone, you know that you need to get connected for resources, this might be a great resource for you to utilize as well. You can go there and identify resources that are in your where you're located based upon your zip code as well. So community resource, this is one community resource that I use with all my clients and my students here at Lone Star. If you or someone you know might be struggling with suicidal thoughts or behaviors, this is a great resource for you to utilize. They're available 24 hours a day, and you will talk to a trained mental health provider. So they can help you in the moment, but they can also get you connected to resources so that you can continue to get the help that you need moving forward. So here's some resources that we offer at Lone Star. It's Care for Completion, because we do care about our students and overall mental health. After COVID, mental health has become a #1 priority. And so we want to make sure that our students and our employees know where to go if they're in need or they're stressed out. We have great resources. We have some of our employees here from our Career and Employment Support Services that we have here at Lone Star. And also we have a food pantry. And this is something that is going to be happening at all of our campuses, that we know that food insecurity can cause psychological distress. So our chancellor is committed to supporting the food pantries throughout the system to make sure that that's one area that students may not have to struggle with or be concerned with. But these are some other resources that our chancellor is committed to as well. So community resources, I want you guys to, if you guys can take a look at that QR code, you're going to get a list of resources. Some of the resources that you have handed out to you on the table, as well as some additional ones as well. The number 3, American Counseling Association, 100 Ways to Reduce Stress. That is a great resource. It gives you a number of resources for you to take advantage of. Because I may sit here and give you resources, and you're like, that doesn't work for me. And that may be true, but now you can go and take a look at what will work for you. So that's a great resource. These are the Harris County Public Health and Community Resource List. They usually publish this every month, so that's a great resource for you to take advantage of, as well as the Montgomery County Community Resource Flyer. So if you're in between jobs or financially struggling, you may not have the means to access regular mental health care, but that is a great resource. And also Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission, TABC, they have a mocktail booklet that may be a great resource. So if you guys are struggling with alcohol, or you know someone who might be struggling with alcohol, this is a great way to introduce this to your family. You can start having mocktails instead of alcoholic beverages, something to consider. And then stress management resource. UT have a great resource, a stress management page. So if you want to learn how to manage your stress, and you want to learn some tips on deep breathing techniques, visualization that can help you in the moment when you're struggling, this is a great resource for you to go and take advantage of. So these are great resources that I wanted to make sure you had, because we won't be able to get to every question, but I hope that this has been helpful to you, and thank you so much.
Lots and lots of great information. Thank you so much, Lisa. Does anybody have any questions? You guys hold up your cards. Awesome. Lisa, thank you so much for compiling all those resources for us too. Super important. I remember going on YouTube trying to find out how to breathe. Yeah. So, yeah, super important to be able to do that. Okay, cool. So this is interesting. So, and I don't know who's going to best answer this, okay? It's a draw, you guys, and maybe you all have an answer. So what 2 things should you not do if you know someone experiencing mental illness or anxiety? So I feel like, is there a couple things we shouldn't do?
I think the first one, and I'll let my colleagues answer maybe a second one, is not tell someone that you're crazy for thinking like that. Trust your feelings, respect individuals' feelings, and our feelings are coming from our experiences, but they're ours. So if I'm sharing with you that I'm feeling like I'm challenged and maybe I do have a mental illness, to tell them that something's wrong with you, you're crazy, that may not be the best answer.
Anybody else?
I would also add, we don't want to escalate the situation. So we want to try to de-escalate. We want to try to calm them down, and we approach them with a calm voice, slow behaviors. We're not going to agitate them further, and get them to open up and talk.
Awesome. Lindsay, anything?
I'm going to piggyback off of Michelle, not asking a lot of questions. Sometimes just giving them like a direct, straight to the answer, like, hey, did you shower? Simple things for self-care, and then kind of escalating from there, okay, what are we looking at, and just seeing how their day is going to go throughout the, at least through those first few things, but also not calling them crazy. That is number one reason a lot of people have a tendency to avoid assistance.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies. So we're going to completely shift gears and get this one out of the way, okay? It says, is pornography as bad in the younger folks as I hear?
Absolutely.
Okay, pull that microphone just a little bit closer to you, Michelle.
Absolutely. It's very dangerous for the brain. It sets up unrealistic expectations for life and marriage, and it is deteriorating to the spirit and the soul and their connection with a higher power and God.
Any thoughts? Heather?
I don't have any.
Okay.
At least, at least from the teenagers that I've come into contact with, it's more available. It's more readily available, so I think it has caused an increase. Just to piggyback off of Michelle, it has caused kind of an unrealistic vision of what it's supposed to be in their world. And I think just the availability is just a lot quicker. And if they can't find a way in, they will find another way in. And that's with anybody, really. Anybody who is truly having an issue with it will find a way to look at it. And I think it's just become something more.
Right. And I would guess that if we can get them into counseling where they feel safe to be able to talk about that would be a healthy thing, where like a kid especially may not talk to an adult in their life, but they may talk to a counselor about that.
Absolutely.
They've also found that it makes permanent changes within the brain in the connections of neurons.
Oh,
So that's very dangerous as well.
of course, yes. Exercise, physical activity is recommended all of our life. Should therapy begin as early as childhood as preventative? So we see, I think, kids primarily, but even as young adults and adults that don't stay physically active, is that more of a problem now than it used to be? Would you guys consider that an issue?
Well, exercise increases those feel-good chemicals in the brain. So just going out and taking a walk after having a bad day will completely change your day or your evening. Mm-hmm. So it changes the chemicals in your brain. And there's feel-good chemicals, and there's chemicals to not feel quite as bad. It increases all of those. So it is definitely important. And the more we do it, we can maintain regular levels of those chemicals.
I definitely agree that exercise is really important. It's a part of self-care activities that I always encourage my clients to engage in, and not only exercise, but when you when you ask the question about should kids start seeing a therapist early, I don't know if they should start seeing a therapist early, but I think we should introduce to them what therapy is, so they don't see it as something that, it's something bad or only certain people go to therapists. So I think introducing what therapy is might be really helpful, and allowing a student to begin to ask for help if they do need it.
Right. Did you have something?
Yeah, so I can kind of piggyback off that. I see a lot of kids and teenagers as well as most other ages. A lot of parents have started their kids because they noticed that there was something different that they couldn't handle themselves. So a lot of them started to offer that resource early just to give them kind of a head start on some of the things like anxiety and nervousness or shaming. So there's a lot of kids that have strong skills and parents that are amazing with their skills, but sometimes those kids that need a little extra where you have no answer, it is a good thing just to introduce, this is what it is. This is another resource you could use. And some kids have been very beneficial, at least like learning things early about emotions and stuff.
And I'm sure as educators, because home life isn't always what we think it is, right? I mean, could be a lot going on that we don't even have, that we're not even aware of. So as educators or neighbors or friends, just being super aware of kind of activities and being able to maybe point them in the right direction. So this one says, is it common to not feel able to give yourself permission for the self-care activities? I think that is pretty common. I don't know if there's what you guys would say is a reason for that.
There could be a lot of reasons for that, but it is quite common. Sometimes, sometimes I find individuals who may be depressed, because anxiety, depression, they're like frenemies. They hang around each other all the time. And so when you have one, you may have the other. And sometimes when working with individuals, that may be a lack of motivation that could be due to depression. So I want to explore just a little bit more, but that's not uncommon for individuals who might have difficulty giving themselves permission to feel better. They may be comfortable in the state that they're in, but there could be a lot of different factors for that.
And I would guess that it doesn't just go like one day you're fine and the next day you're not fine, right? I mean, it kind of creeps up on you, and when that happens, sometimes you don't necessarily notice it. Is that true?
That would be true. And so one of the things that I generally ask my clients is I check in with them every week Tell me about your eating and your sleeping habits. Because I've noticed that when individuals who may be stressed or anxious, or they're right before an episode, a mental health episode, their eating and sleeping habits may change. So those are cues for me, not always, but for the most case. And so I love to check in, but it can be that you're good one day, and then 1 week, and then the next week you're not. But a part of mental health care is taking care of yourself and being preventative. And if you're working with a therapist will help you identify your triggers, and also when there are days when you are probably habits that you develop when you're about to have an episode. So that would be something that we would explore together. But yes.
And I think there are a lot of life changes, right? So, I mean, I remember talking to a lady one time, and like she had moved and her husband had changed jobs, and she's, got a 3-month-old. Like, there's a whole laundry list right there, right? And people don't realize, like, you can only take in so much.
Yes.
And you've got to have a way to process that.
Sometimes life is lifing, and we need the support. And getting connected to a therapist or even a trusted friend, a family member, will be helpful, but definitely.
I also think that sometimes we experience guilt by taking time away from our families, our children and spouses, in order to do things for ourselves. But I think it's really important because, like you said, we're not really able to help others unless we've cared for ourselves first.
That whole put the oxygen mask on yourself first, right? Yeah.
Important.
So if we do have someone in our life that it's obvious to us that they probably need some help, but we are having trouble influencing or convincing them because their response really is, I should be able to manage this, right? So can you help us be better helpers? Like how can we help them seek the guidance that they might need?
So one of the things that I like to encourage individuals to do is some of the resources that I included on during my PowerPoint. NAMI is a great resource. They have resources that give you information how to help a friend who may be struggling. And so that gives you some insight to how you may be able to help. But being there for that person, if you know that they're struggling, it could be good to go into these resources and downloading information that you can give to them and give them the opportunity to reach out. But if you've seen that they're struggling, that could be a way for you to step in and have a conversation. But giving them information, letting them know that you're here. If you need them to listen, you're available to listen, and just being able to provide resources.
So one of my key phrases that I like to use with a lot of people who are individuals that are struggling with things, that are stubborn or don't find that they need the help, is to kind of use phrases such as I've noticed that you've been struggling, I see that you're having a hard time with this, something that kind of depersonalizes it so it doesn't sound like you're demanding them to get help. Right. Just helping to guide them and say, hey, I've noticed you've really been struggling with this. It seems like it's been a lot. What can I help you with? So something to kind of give a little bit of a push, but not so much where it's like, hey, you have a problem. I have answers. Most people normally will walk away from that.
Yeah, because a lot of us are fixers, right?
Yeah.
So we try to fix the situation. And unfortunately, if it's a broken arm, we know what to do. But if it's, something else, we struggle with that. So the last question we have here is, how can our churches be involved and help with mental health? What do you think about that?
We actually partner with a lot of churches. So they know us as one of their resources, and they send clients in to see us. But I think support groups at churches are a huge benefit as well. And for those at the churches that are willing to help and volunteer their time to help others.
Awesome.
I think it's great for churches to be involved in someone's mental health journey. And so when I meet with some of my clients, they tell me, well, I like to pray. That's a part of my support, and I want to encourage them to do that. So definitely church can be a part of a person's mental health journey. And getting connected, churches having resources available to get individuals connected if their need is a little bit greater, to get them connected to appropriate resources. But definitely, it's invaluable.
Perfect. All right, ladies, any final thoughts from any of you? You didn't get to say something, just burning desire that you want to say?
No.
All right. Well, can we give them one big round of applause? Thank you all so much. As a member of the Health and Wellness Committee, on the behalf of everyone that's here, we so appreciate your time and the preparation that you took to be here today. Here's a calendar. If you have an interest in becoming involved in the Chamber Health and Wellness Committee, we would love to have you. There's a list of our upcoming opportunities that you could take advantage of. And again, thank you guys so much for being here today. We appreciate you. Please take time. We do not have to be out of here very quickly, so please take the time to visit. We have some of our panelists that will stay here, and then we have resources in the back for you.